The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Well, welcome and thank you for joining us. I'm Bill Martinez, and we are live. For more information on the show, you can check it out, BillMartinezShow.com. Did you know the globalists have a plan to strip you of your liberty? And as if that's not enough, it's all about controlling you. If you think not, you've got to wake up, America. You cannot sleepwalk this anymore. By our Constitution's definition, it's about we the people, which really implies, if not, commands that we be activated, that we participate actively in the governance, that we do not rely, though we may send representatives to do our bidding, it's up to us. We have the government that we deserve because either we've acquiesced to it, we've decided to subordinate our responsibilities to a chosen few to make decisions on our behalf. So whether we're talking COP28, which is underway, it'll go on for another 13 days here. And that's happening in Dubai. Oh, yeah, by the way, which they are thinking about all the things that, us peons must comply with, whether it has to do with climate change or things we eat. In fact, they don't want you eating beef anymore. That's how bad it's getting. Well, we have the former 9th mayor of Troy, Michigan, Janice Daniels, going to be joining us. She's experienced firsthand the power, because these are Saul Alinsky type tactics, which was really communist, it's Marxism, totalitarianism, all wrapped up into some pretty package that unfortunately our students that we've been sending to college, upwards of, $500,000 worth of indebtedness per child. And what we get back are, indoctrinated soldiers to the cause here. But getting back to Saul Alinsky's tactics, Janice understood what it means to pick the target, you freeze it, you personalize it, you polarize it, therefore you control it. And the World Economic Forum continues with its objective of a one world government. Janice Daniels, welcome back. Good to have you with us. How are you?
Thank you, Bill. I'm great. It's a wonderful day here in Michigan. Sun is bright. It's kind of warm. I mean, if you think 43 degrees is warm, in Michigan winter, it is.
Yeah. You got a regular heat wave.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, except, even though it's a wonderful day in Michigan, you just can't think about your governor that is doing everything to make it less than wonderful, right? Well,
I throw the governor in that group of people that I call usurpers, because that's not the legitimate government. As far as I'm concerned, the election of 2020 was stolen. We've already discussed that before. President Trump is the de jure president. That means he's the real president. Usurper Joe is the de facto president in name only. And it offends me, quite frankly, Bill, that Fox News and all those other mainstream media stations that purport to be conservative and Republican in form, they continue to push the narrative that, in fact, Joe Biden is the president. He is not. And I found it interesting that you mentioned Dubai, because there was a summit called the World Government Summit in early February of 2023, where the master megalomaniac, one world government puppet Klaus Schwab said that those who control the fusion of the physical, biological, and digital identities will be masters of the world. The only thing he didn't do at that time was to go, wah, with that evil laugh.
Right.
But that's their
Well, that's
goal.
because he wasn't wearing his Tinkerbell outfit. Janet, if you've seen him in that outfit, I mean, it's kind of hard to take the guy too seriously. But he
Well,
is, unfortunately.
but we do have to take him seriously. And in fact, we have to take all of these indications seriously because they're trying to force the narrative. It's not that they're explaining the narrative, they're forcing the narrative.
Exactly.
They want to tell us what to think, what to do. For example, there's a great deal of media attention right now to the surveillance state. Okay, so we have the globalists trying to surveil our every move. Well, I was thinking the other day, wouldn't it be nice if some rich republic loving, I'm not talking about Republicans, I'm talking about men and women who love the American Republic, would start surveilling these politicians.
Yeah. I think we almost don't want to see it, Janice, because I think we already have a fairly good idea of what it's all about. Because the Bible tells us we'll know them by their fruit. Well, we see the low hanging fruit that comes out of the Beltway, and it stinks. And so you can run it to its maximum. I mean, we spend all this time in hearings, congressional hearings, and like, what do you think? You think Joe Biden is going to roll over on his back and say, "Oh, you got me. I did steal money. I did cheat. I mean, there's no admission. I mean, Hillary Clinton caught what I believe in dead to rights, what she did in compromising and in polluting the entire election process. This is before 2020. But what she dumped into the body politic is unconscionable. She cost us a lot of money on many levels, and I want her and Bill to write a check out of the Clinton Foundation. Of course, they've got a lot of ill-gotten gains, brought to that foundation of theirs, and they ended up costing the American taxpayer millions of dollars in this false narrative, speaking of narratives, that they threw out there and saying that Donald Trump was Putin's puppet.
Well, that's true. And in fact, in 1913, when Senator Aldrich promoted the formation of the Federal Reserve Bank, so-called, they said it was to soak the rich. But in reality, it soaked the middle class. And it continues to soak the middle class. And now we are at an age of new technology. And I love technology. I'll be honest with you, Bill. I love technology. And I am just concerned that we make sure that the levers of power are in the hands of the good guys, not the poisonous communist globalist megalomaniacs. We want the levers of power of this new digital age to be in the hands of the good guys. And so I think that we need to embrace technology, this digital technology, the digital trifecta, I call it. It's a digital ID, digital currency, and a digital wallet. And all of that is nothing more than really what we have on paper right now. They're talking about needing an identification system. Well, these very same people here in America have destroyed our driver's license ID process, whereby we knew who was a legitimate voter.
Exactly.
So they talk out of both sides of their mouths. They are evil to the core. And I just won't stand for it as one American woman. I only hope to convince many more, because they're not going to listen to Janice Daniels. But if Janice Daniels and Bill Martinez could multiply our grassroots forces by 80,000, I mean, 80 million people had their voice stolen on November 3rd, 2020. Where are the 79,999 people? We know that 100 of us are in jail for January 6th. Where's the rest of us?
Right. Well, you're exactly right, Janice. And think about it. What are we guilty of? We're guilty of wanting to realize the benefits of what our founding fathers have put together in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. We're guilty of having a responsible government that represents we the people with these values and ideals of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, not empowering institutions that cheat, steal, and go and destroy other governments around the world and misrepresent democracy. I mean, so we're bad because we don't want to go along with the FBI and the CIA and destroying other countries, and where they, they come back and think, well, yeah, here it is, all you rich people, you give us all the money and stuff, but meanwhile, you come in and you effect a regime change, you try to impose your values on us, and we're not interested in a total exchange, a fundamental transformation, if I might use those terms, of our own country. But meanwhile, we delude ourselves into thinking that somehow we bought into this elitist mentality, Janice, that somehow a small number of people know better than the masses.
Well, that's true. And unfortunately, I believe that has been the nature of civilization since the beginning of time, where, I mean, there is a natural aristocracy. There are people who God has gifted with greater talents or prophecy or education or just passion to be a leader. So I don't think there's anything wrong with an aristocracy as long as it's based upon good principles of our republic. In fact, I would not mind if the American Republic were spread around the world as a one world government. I just don't want the poison of communism to represent the whole world and the government. That is the fallacy. Is they keep trying to say that we have to follow their ideals. Well, no, we don't follow their ideals. We follow God. Yes. We follow the 10 Commandments. We follow the Holy Bible. We love the Declaration of Independence. We love our Constitution. And I love the first 10 Bill of Rights. I don't want anything more. Any of the other amendments to the Constitution after the first 10 Bill of Rights, I think should just be thrown out. And every man-made law since then should be thrown out because it's become too convoluted. You can't read it. You can't understand it. You don't know what is lawful today and if it'll be lawful tomorrow. We've made a big mess of things, Bill, and it is our responsibility, we the people, the good people of the world, to capture the goodness that we can have in this lifetime of ours.
Well, some of this that you refer to is just human fallacy. People come into elected office and they think that they need to social engineer or come up with a better idea. The wheel is round, it works. We don't need to reinvent it, but yet they do, all under the guise of, trying to garner votes, trying to impress people instead of adjudicating and doing the basics, making sure that things are fair, that they're just, which is what is outlined in the Bill of Rights for all concerned, and, to try to over enumerate or overcomplicate it, as you say, because what's coming out of Congress these days and has been, for decades now, isn't simple and easily understood by the masses, which was the intent. The original intent of the founding fathers is that people would be able to understand what is being proposed out of Congress. And now, we get volumes of documents, 800 thousands of pages long, that even those that vote on it don't read it. They expect staff to read it. I had to laugh because back in the days when Obamacare was introduced, over 2,000 pages. I don't know if you tried to tackle that, Janice, but I got about 5 pages deep and my brain was so bruised. I needed to go see a therapist because I couldn't understand what the heck they were trying to tell us.
Well, that's interesting. I was with a small group of people who at that time decided that we were going to read it out loud. We were going to read the Obamacare bill out loud. And so each of us took an opportunity to spend 15, 20 minutes reading, and then the next person would take up from there and read on. We could not get through the whole thing, but I knew after I had read my little portion that I wanted to be the secretary, because the secretary, whoever this was going to be, was given enormous power. Right. Powers that were so unconstitutional. That's the problem, really. In fact, Frederick Bastiat, the great French aristocrat, statesman, author of the little pamphlet, The Law, said that the people in Congress, first of all, while they're campaigning, they say, oh, the people know what's best. Let the people vote. And then as soon as they get elected, they don't want to listen to the people anymore. Exactly. And they believe that they've been made of some special clay Frederick Bastiat says, than the rest of us. They're made
Right.
of some special clay.
Yeah.
And it's a fallacy. And we really are so fortunate, Bill, I believe, to be alive in this dawn of technology where we have access to the very same tools that these communists have access to. And it's the same battle. Nothing has changed. This is good versus evil.
Exactly.
We are either going to be free men and women, or we're going to be slaves to communism. And pray that the American people, or that the people of the world, will wake up. You know, I've taken a little interest lately in football because the Detroit Lions are my team, and they've been quite a team lately, until, of course, that game on Thanksgiving Day, and then they weren't a team anymore. Right. But I've been watching the audience and saying, look at these men and women. So vibrant, explosive. They're cheering, they're screaming, they're rooting for their team. Why can't these same men and women root for their country?
Amen. Yeah, unfortunately, it takes a national disaster or an attack like 9/11, to bring us together, to realize that we must focus on first principles. This, the disunification of the body politic, which has been done on purpose. Here it is. People were led to believe. I don't know. Say 82 million people somehow believe that Joe Biden was going to be a unifier, when there was never ever an indication in the man's history that he unified anything. He may have went across, across the aisle and passed a couple bills, but anything of extraordinary circumstance that didn't go along, and that could be identified with anything with Joe Biden. But yet 82 million people believed that he was going to unify. And on day one, he did everything and has continued to do everything, to bifurcate and disunify this country.
Bill, I'm curious to know what the world leaders think, because I believe that they know that our election was stolen.
Oh, it's obvious. It's obvious.
I do believe that President Trump had a good working relationship with the Prince of Saudi Arabia, President Putin. I believe he had a good working relationship with Xi Jinping in China. And so these men understood the strength and the vitality and the sincerity of Donald Trump when he talked about he wants America to be first, and every country should want their own people to be first.
Exactly. And they do. You see, the thing was about Donald Trump is they feared Donald Trump about 10%, and that's all it took. That they just knew that there was 10% about Donald Trump they didn't quite understand. Can you imagine President Xi? Okay, he's at Mar-a-Lago. And when President Trump leaves the dinner to go and authorize or get the information that he had just executed a bombing mission, right? And he comes back to the table and tells President Xi, we just bombed him. What do you think President Xi interpreted at that moment?
Well, again, that's peace through strength.
Exactly.
He saw strength. And so the world was basically at peace. We don't really know what goes on at these global cabal meetings that go on endlessly. But in fact, the world seemed to be a much safer place when President Trump was known to the media. The media just won't recognize that he's still the president, but I think that these other world leaders might, in fact. And so I wonder how much kabuki theater is really going on. I mean, for example, there's this talk now about the petrodollar being replaced by the Chinese.
Well, the Saudis and China already have made a deal.
Well,
they've replaced the petrodollar. Supposedly, they're going to exchange in their own dollars.
If you read that article in its entirety, it's only a 10% amount of the trade that is being affected by this currency swap issue that was promoted on the internet. 90% of Saudis,
but that's where it starts, though, Janice.
Yeah, but 90% of Saudis exports are oil related, and they will not disassociate from the dollar
Yes.
with their oil related products. And so again, it's kabuki theater. It's designed to weaken America and our resolve and make us think that we just can't do anything to stop this, when in fact the dollar really is strong. Quite frankly, we'll be talking about dollars of what? Fiat paper? I'm not real sure that we want to maintain that system.
Right.
Throughout history, man has devised a standard of measurement. What gold is a standard of value. And so we allowed the globalists to disassociate the US dollar from gold, and that therein starts the problem in the schoolyard. The bullies start taking over when the standard is diminished. And so I'm not sure that I mind if the fiat paper, the Federal Reserve Bank, should be abolished. Alex Newman was saying that in the New American Magazine back in 2015. He wrote a wonderful article about that very thing. The communists were trying to devalue the dollar and have the Chinese yuan as the world's currency. And so he was bringing it to the attention of the people. And again, if we just keep picking away, bringing this stuff to the attention of the people, I do believe that we are going to win this battle, because good does win in the end. And we are on the side of good.
Well, the challenge we have, Janice, is that it is so important for us to have the right representation. People, as you say, that are sold out to the truth, and these first principles, these Judeo-Christian principles, first principles of governance that you and I grew up with, that this nation was founded on. We must re-embrace those first principles if we're going to get this country on track. We can no longer allow the system that is currently in play, this paradigm that has been well established for decades. It requires a wrecking ball of sorts to go through and disassemble all these cabals, all these, these special programs and, just private institutions, all in the name of the U.S. government, that they're running, they're running their fiefdoms, within this supposedly representative democratic republic. It's out of control. You can't have a Justice Department operating in the manner which it is. This is the thing, we can be so thankful for Donald Trump, is that he's pulled back the curtain on all this stuff. Before Donald Trump, we didn't hear a lot about the deep state. We knew about the industrial military complex, but we hadn't realized that it had metastasized into every three-letter agency within the government.
Yeah, and we were being poisoned to not even understand the principles of the American Republic. And therein, Bill, I truly do believe lies the solution. The Constitution is written in such a way that if the representatives, even the wrong people, are in office and they're doing the right thing because they're bound to the Constitution, that's an improvement. Because if we would fundamentally return to the principles of the republic, it's not elected officials that we have in office, it's public functionaries. When they exceed the delegated authority that we the people gave to them, and it is clearly defined, delegated authority, when they exceed that, they are usurping their authority and they need to be reined in. You are absolutely right. Every one of those alphabet agencies is unconstitutional, because the government wasn't designed to metastasize into this behemoth, and that's what they've done. Rather than the Constitution limiting the government, they've used it to grow the government. And so you're right, we need a fundamental transformation. And thank you, Obama. You can go back to Kenya, because we don't want your kind of fundamental transformation. We'll transform ourselves back into the American Republic. And then if the rest of the world wants to follow our suit, please join us. We would love. I'll tell you what. I'm very proud of the people of Kenya because, quite frankly, they are a country that has long been hampered with government-sanctioned discrimination. And now we're not supposed to discriminate. Of course, discrimination has been a weaponized word. We're not supposed to discriminate. But you know what? We can discern. And discern is discriminating crucial differences. Skin color is not a crucial difference.
Right.
Law and order, justice, and rule of law, those are crucial differences. And we can discern and discriminate against people who want to act lawless in our country. So again, it's a return to the rule of law and the fundamentals of the American Republic. But the people of Kenya, they were told that they have to now, in 2019, let me back up a minute. In 2019, they were given a national ID system called Huduma Namba. And that was a paper that they had to carry that identified them. And of course, the government always says, well, this is because we want to be able to provide you with government services and we want to be able to authenticate your existence. So now they have to authenticate human beings' existence, as if a thumbprint isn't a proper identification of a specific person, a thumbprint. They don't need a piece of paper. Well, now, 4 or 5 years later, the Huduma Namba system isn't working. So now Bill Gates Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and the UN and the World Economic Forum, they all want to now provide a digital ID platform for Kenyans. And they're supposed to be given this ID at birth, and it's going to follow them throughout their life. It's called a Marsha number, and that I think means life number. And you know what? The activists, the lobbyists, the people in Kenya who are paying attention to politics, they're saying, wait. We don't have the infrastructure. We don't have any idea that you're going to have our privacy kept secure. So no, we're not going to go along with this. And they are pushing back.
Well,
and
good for them.
Good for the good men and women of Kenya. I'm proud of them. And that's what we need to do too. We need to push back and say, no, we're not going to do this. No, you're not going to tell me what I can say. You're not going to tell me where I can live. You're not going to tell me what temperature I have to have my house. You're not going to tell me what kind of car I have to drive. These are individual, sovereign responsibilities of people. God gave each and every one of us the sovereign ability, free will, and the ability to use the resources that he has provided to us with our faculties to create a world that we can all enjoy living in. And it's just crazy that these people think that they are going to have countries like Saudi Arabia and Iran and China come together, Russia, and all work together to destroy America. And that might be their ultimate goal. But you know what? I haven't yet seen a family get together for a Thanksgiving dinner and agree on much of anything. So I don't know how they expect all these world leaders to all of a sudden say, oh, okay, yeah, I'm going to give up my religion of centuries and we'll just go along with what you say we should do. I don't think that's going to be so easy to take place, quite frankly. So I have great hope and great happiness about the future, quite frankly.
So, Janice, you're telling me that special family guidebook that the Biden campaign put out to answer MAGA statements when they went to the holiday dinners, are you telling me that didn't work?
I don't think it did. In fact, I didn't even hear of that one.
You didn't hear about this?
Didn't hear about that one. No.
Yeah, no. The Democratic Party and the campaign for Joe Biden put out a book, a special booklet, so that if you were going to have Thanksgiving dinner with your MAGA relatives, that you knew how to respond, with the Democratic and Joe Biden talking points that, would spout off and tell them that they didn't know what they were talking about, that, Bidenomics was working, that the shelves and the prices of goods on the shelves and to get that all that's a lie, and that It's just been all kind of hunky dory because of Joe Biden. And, the thing is, I've been looking, Janice, because these polls say that 40% of America is, lauding the praises of one Joe Biden. And I can't find anybody in that 40%. Because I want to know, what is it that they're seeing that I'm not seeing about this administration that has them approving, when you've got over 50% of the country going, we're on the wrong track. And just like you're saying, they question the legitimacy, which, still to this day, nobody on either side, Democrat or Republican, wants to do anything about investigating, what happened in the 2020 elections. But meanwhile, we've got a 2024 election. And what are the chances that we're going to have either a reproduction of what happened in 2020 or, something even worse?
I can't really predict that, to be honest with you. I do know that President Trump has a robust campaign called Agenda 47.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I watched a Rumble video of his where he's talking about revitalizing America. He's calling it the quantum leap. And he has some really fascinating kind of programs that he's thinking of helping or asking the Congress to help initiate. Number one, he's talking about potentially offering young people some kind of a baby boom kind of thing where they would be encouraged to procreate like we're supposed to, because we need to get more people in this country that are solid Americans.
We got to first stop killing them. That would go a long way. We stop killing babies. That would help.
That would absolutely help. And again, we've got a Supreme Court that overturned Roe versus Wade. So that was a step in the right direction. But again, the people didn't take charge of it. For some reason, the CNN types or the globalist types took the mantle of leadership. And all of a sudden, we've got this great outcry to have laws instilled in each state that secure abortions up through birth. It's shameful. How can we do this when one of the unalienable rights from God is life?
Yes.
Life is an unalienable right that we all have, and that includes people who are still in the womb. That's supposed to be the most safest place in the world, and yet now it's become one of the most dangerous places to be is a woman's womb.
Exactly. I'll tell you, speaking of the New American, our good friend Rebecca Terrell has a great column on the abortion issue, and the way she lays this out. It is powerful. She did a great job in the most recent magazine, the recent New American. I don't know if you've had a chance to read that.
I briefed through it because I got it in my email because I am a member, and I would encourage all of our listeners to become subscribers to the New American magazine, because it is on the vanguard of giving us that deep dive into all these important issues of our day. And yes, personally, I've met and I know Rebecca Terrell, and she's a wonderful woman. Of course, she was the senior editor that wrote the really nice article about me that's published in the February 13th, 2023 issue of the New American. In fact, her article was so nice about me that it made me want to do more good, because I wanted to live up to what she was saying I was doing. And so she's just a wonderful woman. She's a nurse by trade.
Yes, right. Exactly. By trade. Yeah.
And that's what, and she's so intellectual. I'll tell you, there are so many intellectual writers in the New American magazine, senior editors. William Jasper's been calling out the alarm on this global ID, digital ID for the longest time. Alex Newman, Paul Drago, Rebecca Terrell, these people are excellent writers, and I'm really proud to be I'm something of a spokesperson for the New American magazine, and that makes me very happy.
Well, yeah, when you're representing something of quality, it definitely makes your job easier, and and there's credibility behind it. It's not like it's wishy-washy. It's not like going to all of a sudden be be reformed because they see themselves as that special clay that you talk about. Because the deal is, speaking of that, when you said special clay, unfortunately, that's what happens with the elected officials. They get molded into what the ideal is and what the Beltway and the system of the Beltway wants to produce. And, I keep telling our audience, Janice, is that when our elected officials, once they leave home and they go into the Beltway for orientation, they're told immediately to forget about the campaign, that the new campaign starts as of today. And that campaign is for you to get reelected. That's the most important thing that you can do in office, is to get reelected. So anything that you've promised to your constituents is subordinated to that end. So when you realize the most important thing to do to get reelected, then you have to follow the money, and you end up compromising your principles and things that you said you would never support. You realize that by never supporting those issues, you're going to lose a lot of money. And unfortunately, money has had too big a sway in our body politic, in our governance. And this is why we are where we are today, in my humble opinion.
And you're absolutely right. I agree with you. When I was elected the mayor, the first day that I entered into the government system, it was like I was entering into a different world. Yeah. The public sector is so well oiled. It's a machine, and they know what to do, and they know what to say. And they say, well, take this class at the municipal League of Women Voters or whatever, and they want you to join these groups and go to these classes and fill out these forms, and they expect that you won't make any waves. And the people that do make waves, which I was one of them, right, they get chewed up and spit out.
Yeah, and you don't get reelected.
No, you don't. You really, really don't. And therein lies the rub. When we have a system that's based upon what your values as a person are, if you can lose your principles quite that easy and say, well, I guess I better toe the line or I'm not going to get reelected, that doesn't say very much about the nature of man or woman, quite frankly. And that's why the chains of the Constitution exist, so that even the wrong people do the right thing. Where is the authority? Where is your authority to do this? Where is your authority to say that? Where is your authority? And these people, they are called public functionaries. And the reason that is the correct nomenclature for people who are elected or appointed into government positions is because they are there to do a function for the public. Nothing more, nothing less. Right. And when they step outside that delegated authority that we have given them, they are usurpers and they need to be removed from office. And so again, if the American people could just go back to elementary school and start over again and actually learn the Constitution that we've been gifted with. I really believe that the American Constitution is a divinely appointed document.
Oh, no doubt.
It's a document for
100%.
All time. It's absolutely a document for all time. It doesn't need a bunch of amendments. We've sullied it by all the amendments that we have put into it. In fact, now, Alexander Hamilton was not one of my favorite founding fathers because he was a bankster. He was kind of an international globalist bankster. But you can't buy totally into the musical just because the music. You think he's some kind of hero. No, I agree with you. No. But he warned about a Bill of Rights, and in fact, I wrote an article called "Were We Right to Write the Bill of Rights?" And in fact, what he said, and I happen to think it's kind of a interesting possibility, if we write down what we consider to be our rights, it gives the usurpers the ability to regulate those rights. And that's exactly what they have done. When we're not supposed to have any law that infringes upon our right to keep and bear arms, Second Amendment, that means no laws. How many gun laws do we have, Bill, right now?
I I can't even count them all. I mean, what do you?
Untold.
Yeah, I mean, they keep trying to chase. They have a problem because they don't enforce the law, and then they have to make up a law to put a band-aid over their acquiescence and their ignorance of you know of the law that's already there. And
That's right.
so it just unfortunately what happens is we've moved out of that which is duty bound and honorable, okay, those things that are true, and we moved into the realm of consequentialism. And when you start making decisions based on the consequences, then you've missed the point, because now you're becoming reactive and not proactive. The document that we have, the Constitution, was very proactive. It's all there. To your point, we don't need new amendments. All we need to do is to enforce what we have, and it will work for us, because the infrastructure that was put into place was to produce a certain type of government and encourage a certain type of governance and citizenry. And when we violate that, we get less than what we expected. And I believe that's the frustration that we have in America today. And when they say we're on the wrong track, it's because we have violated, just to your point, Janice, that you've been saying time and again, we have violated the infrastructure, the credibility of what was designed. And you're right, inspired by divine inspiration, the Constitution, even to the point that, our early presidents would time and again thank God, because they knew the great American idea came from God himself.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, it seems that the American people never really seemed to quite catch on to the power that they had
Mhm.
from the Constitution.
And they still
Because
have it. They
no,
still
they
have it.
still have, that's exactly
Right,
right. That's
right.
but we now have the wonderful technology at our fingertips that can educate us, and that is the key, educating the people. In fact, again, that's a video that Paul Dragu from the New American
Yes. Mhm,
Magazine he has on
mhm.
Rumble, or on the New American Magazine website itself.
Yes.
Is the weapon that the globalists hate the most is education.
Right. This is why we have to own our own knowledge. To your earlier point, Janice, that you made, if you're listening to the talking heads, even of Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, NBC, I mean, just go down the whole list. And if that has become your talking point, and the depth of your knowledge, which is probably not much more than the depth of a bumper sticker, then this is what has got us in trouble. We have dumbed ourselves down. You have to know, even the things that, Janice and I are talking about today. My prayer is that you would be motivated enough to own that you would challenge what we're talking about and see if it's not true, so that when it comes up in conversation, when it is your time to come alongside and be part of that network for good, that our Constitution was established for, is that we would be a people of good. And so that we have to bring people together. And just like you were saying earlier, I'm thinking of these politicians, when they're in a cesspool, and I mean that with all due respect, in a cesspool that has compromised the Constitution. It's hard to find like-minded people that will, come alongside, that you can build an alliance with, right?
Absolutely. And in fact, the men and women who are supposed to be the vanguards of conservative thought, they're
Mhm.
not vocal enough. They're
Right.
not bold enough, because, again, they've got their marching orders. Don't step out of line too far,
Mhm.
or you will lose your committee position. And so even the good people, I'll tell you who I think one of the men that I like the most in Congress right now is Thomas Massey from Kentucky.
Mhm.
I find him to be refreshing, and I hope that he continues to be elected. I like Rand Paul, but still, in fact, I watched a program that Rand Paul was presenting. I'm not sure where it was at, and he was on the edge of telling us important things about Dr. Fauci and the
Yeah.
COVID response and that,
Right.
but it was almost like with a laugh that he said, well, nothing will ever happen. Nobody will ever go to jail. Well, wait a minute. Isn't that your job to make sure something does happen and somebody does go to jail, Mr.
Right.
Paul? I mean, isn't that your job? Isn't that why we sent you to that position that you're in, to protect justice in this country? You can't just glibly say, well, he probably committed a crime, and well, we know that he should go to jail, but he probably won't.
Well, we had an administration official, right, in the Trump administration working alongside Dr. Fauci. And this past week, he doesn't talk about it here in America. He's in Australia.
Yeah.
Right. And he says, here's the story, that they did hide the origin of the virus. And this was done by design, by purpose, orchestrated by none other than Dr. Fauci. So I understand what Rand Paul is saying. I mean, here we are 60 years after the assassination of JFK, and we still have more questions than answers.
Isn't that a shame? It's tragic.
Well, it says something about our DNA, doesn't it, as a country?
Well, it's certainly, you're absolutely right. And where are the brave men and women of America? This is supposed to be the land of the free and the home of the brave. Where are the brave people of America? Why aren't you standing up with Bill Martinez and Janice Daniels to try to make a difference for the good of this country? It's going to take a number of people to get involved. All you wonderful guys that love the Detroit Lions, come and join the patriots that want to protect your republic, that gives you the opportunity to go and dress up like a lion and watch a football game.
Well, we're at that intersection, and we have been at this critical intersection for a long time, Janice. And that is, we're at the intersection of a truth and a lie, life or death. And so what turn are you going to make? Are you going to turn to life? Are you going to turn to the truth? Or are you going to turn to evil and death? And we have enough examples in our lifetime to understand the clear difference. There's no gray area. We have fooled ourselves. The boomers of, the 50s and 60s, we fooled ourselves into thinking that life was gray. And we paid a big price for this. This is what, brought on, Roe v. Wade and the murder of over 100 million babies just in the United States alone, not even counting how many millions around the world have been involved with abortion. So the gray area has brought death. So if we choose life, then we'll make decisions that are consistent, that promote life, that look for the betterment of all concerned. You choose death, and then you give rise to crime and all this other negative and evil expression that's on the streets of America today.
Yeah, that's true. I blame the baby boomers in one sense, and I'm a baby boomer, but there was a generation between the greatest generation, which were the brave men that fought in World War II. Those people were really hardy Americans, it seems. Then there was what was called the silent generation. And that's where my mom and dad fit into, the silent generation. And unfortunately, they were kind of silent. That's when the television was new, and it just seems like maybe we were too silent during those years when the baby boomers were being raised, to where we didn't understand things other than what the media again wanted to share with us or show to us.
Well, going back what you said, Janice, so critical. We lost discernment.
Yes.
We stopped thinking. We stopped understanding the trouble on the horizon. We had voices speaking out saying, hey, you got problems coming into River City here. And we flat out ignored it. We did not exercise the discernment to perceive the danger and to do something about it. Janice Daniels, as always, you and I could spend hours on this. And I so appreciate your heart, because your heart is to get this country back on track. Your heart is for truth and justice, the American values that you and I grew up with. Your heart is toward a better America, which I believe can be realized, because I have faith in the 345 million Americans, the greater amount of people who, as others have referred to it, as the cumulative intelligence of people who have been raised with this great American idea. There's a tremendous amount of power here. And this is what's freaking out the globalists in the World Economic Forum and those that think that America can be easily controlled. And I think they're realizing that there will be a day. There will be a day that they're going to have to step up to and be measured, because right now more and more Americans are realizing that they have measured these globalist ideas and they fall way short, don't they?
Absolutely. And don't forget the good people of Kenya. They also realize it. And I think that, in fact, the European Union is starting to realize it. They're having strong conservative legislators elected all over the place. I love it.
Look what happened in Argentina as well. And we got movements in Canada and the Dutch as well. As you say, it is a positive movement. I think that maybe we've defied gravity enough to where we realize that gravity still exists and we need to behave ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, God bless you, Bill Martinez. I enjoy talking to you so much. Thank you for inviting me onto your program.
Always welcome here. Janice Daniels has been our guest, the 9th mayor of Troy, Michigan, and contributor to the New American Magazine. Our thanks to Janice. Our thanks to you for sharing a part of your day. Thank you so much. May God bless you and keep you. May he make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you and give you peace. Thank you so much for being with us. God bless. Take care.